at the national championship. However, each conference handing out their individual postseason awards. Not surprising to some who the coach of the year is, the head coach of the Florida Gators. And that man right there, sweeping a pair of awards. We'll have that and so much more on Southeast Sports Plus. Welcome in. I'm Gerhard Mathangani, joined by Gabriella Genereaux and, of course, Patrick Walsh playing point guard for us. This is one of those things where, like, I felt like when the awards first came out, and I always do this game. I don't know if you do it with yourself. Mm-hmm. You do the thing where you think, if I was a voter, how would I vote? And seeing if the way you vote matches up with the way it all played out.
Right. And I know we were actually in here when we found out, and you gave your guesses. And I thought you had a pretty good case for yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, I was a Darius Acuff Jr. fan from the beginning. So I'm happy to see him sweeping too.
That's the thing. And I thought at the time, I was like, okay, maybe they will be a little bit more, they being the voters, would spread out the love a little bit more, and you would have a non-freshman win the player of the year and Darius Acuff win the freshman of the year, and or if Acuff is going to win the player of the year, have another freshman win the freshman of the year. It just didn't turn out to be the case. But Patrick, you were right. One of our overreactions, maybe about a month ago or so, I said move over Darius Acuff. this thing aged like an avocado. This thing aged like warm milk. This take move over Darius Acuff. It's time for Nate Ament to win it, and next thing you know, Darius Acuff is winning both awards.
Well, when I woke up this morning, I knew exactly what polo I wanted to wear today, and it's the one that has a bunch of red flags on it, because that take was such a red flag from you at the time that it was just preposterous. And now he comes back and he wins both the awards. I didn't think he was going to win both, but somehow, the SEC is like, I mean, probably the best guard that Coach Calipari's ever coached, even going back to Kentucky, and that's some elite company right there. I was honestly astonished that he ended up winning both the Freshman of the Year and Player of the Year awards. But I don't even know what to make of that take at this point.
No, it's awful. But what happened was I got high on Nate Ament scoring like 25 points in like 3 games in a row, and I was like,
do you feel like things took a turn for him though because he got injured towards the end of the season?
100%. I think that's where it all derailed, and I think that he probably still would have had I mean, this is all hypothetical. I think he still would have had a chance to win Freshman of the Year had he kept up that trajectory, and then maybe Darius Acuff and him would have split. Acuff Player of the Year, he won Freshman of the Year. But no, I think the injuries had to derail it. But, I mean, if you're going back and forth, I think, in my honest opinion, I still think LeBaron Philon was probably the better overall player, the only player in the country, by the way, and they said this in the awards, the only player in the country to average 21 points, almost 5 assists, and shoot 50% from the floor. I just thought that efficiency and that high usage rate would get him the Player of the Year. I have no problem with this whatsoever with Darius Acuff because he is the most, in my opinion, the most talented, pure talented player in the league.
The only argument I have against LeBaron Philon is when you take a look at some of the other guys on that team, like Holloway, like Allen. I mean, that team is pretty loaded top to bottom.
Yeah.
This Arkansas team, up until Billy Richmond started to find the scoring stroke, it was literally Darius Acuff and maybe Carter Knox sometimes that would carry this team.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we had talked with Courtney Mims out of Arkansas about this team, and she was really challenging some of the older guys to step up and be a leader for this team. It was literally Darius Acuff against the entire other team, and they still couldn't stop him. You could double him, and he would still put up his points. So that's the only argument I'd have against LeBaron Philon. I think they're both we saw the game where they both went up against each other, and it was pure cinema. We need that again.
Yeah, and there was, and speaking of that game, I think he might have won the award
with
that performance. And it's in a losing effort, but the fact that he played every single minute of the game, scores 49 points, could have scored 50 if he wasn't going for the alley-oop there at the end in overtime. But then he obviously has that game, and then he compounds it with his. It's not like most freshmen that you see have a good game and then have a drop off, and then a couple of good games and then have a drop off, and then Ament's injury and his circumstance have an injury that kind of derail him as well. He was consistent throughout the year, and that's what I think won him the award.
For sure, he definitely carried this Arkansas team on his back for a majority of the season.
Yeah, and that's really hard to ask for a freshman, and Courtney Mims has been saying this as well. The fact that he doesn't really act like a freshman, I think that also went into the minds of the voters to be able to award him the voters. It's the coaches, so it's actually probably a little bit higher praise that it's the guys that are scheming against you night after night, the ones that win that have that award. Great show on tap today. Over the next 2 hours, we'll talk about this topic and several others. We just set the table for the postseason awards. We'll dive more into the Coach of the Year and playing in the teams of the year. Also, what can Tennessee expect from Nate Ament? We will talk positively about Gabriella's Tennessee Volunteers. UF alum Castillo winning his first ever PGA Tour event. We'll also catch up with the Florida men's golf coach as well. And Team USA, Downs, Mexico. That's right, for the first time in 2 decades at the World Baseball Classic. I don't know if you can watch it. That is entertaining as all get out. We will have Coach J.C. Deacon of the Florida Gator men's golf team. We'll also have Sam Granville joining us from Knoxville and Parker Ream from out in Waco, Texas. The Coach of the Year, I thought was a layup in this one. I don't think that it could have gone to any other coach outside of Florida. Todd Golden.
Absolutely. I mean, what he's been able to do there in Florida in just 3 years has been incredible. I mean, he was the fastest coach to 100 wins there.
Yeah.
And obviously got a national championship title in year 2. So I have no problem with this pick.
One of the things, and we talked about my terrible takes. One of the takes that Patrick had early in the season was the fact this Florida team not only was not going to repeat, but probably was a 5 seed in the tournament. But that just kind of speaks to his coaching job, because they did not look great at the beginning of the season. He helped turn this team around all the way. I just think that to me, he might be the best coach in the country. I know a lot of people like Coach Hurley. I know people love Izzo, and he's a legend. But I just think that he's kind of perfect for what 2026 basketball looks like in this crazy age of NIL, transfer portal, and your lineup changing all the time.
I mean, that's exactly a great statement to make. You have your legends in the game like Izzo, like Hurley, like, Cal, like Bill Self. And then you also have your young guys that are really starting to take over the reins. John Shire's done a fantastic job taking over for Coach K over at Duke. They haven't slowed down. And, I mean, Todd Golden and what he's been able to do for this Florida program has really taken the reins and run from it. I will say this last 11-game run is honestly what got him Coach of the Year.
For sure.
Because ever since that Auburn loss, I mean, they're 11-0, and their average margin of victory is 21. But it almost – I honestly forgot that this team was unranked on January 5th.
That's right.
They had fallen.
That's a great pool. I totally forgot about that as well.
They began the season number 3 in the country, had their dip down to the unranked margins, and now they're all the way up to 4 in the country again. They're 11-5 versus quad 1 opponents. A lot of people are talking about, man, are they really a 1 seed with 6 losses? But I think UConn's loss at Marquette over the weekend actually gives Florida a pretty good chance at being the number 1 seed, because I'm just going to come out and say it. There is absolutely no way that this team loses the SEC tournament. I mean, they are so far above and beyond everyone else in this league right now. It's honestly like it's kind of boring in a way, but it's also like thrilling, because it's like, all right, who's going to have a good game here? Who's going to have a good game here? They're just so consistent ever since that loss to Auburn.
Yeah, and I think that, and this is kind of the scary thing, this is the marker of all great teams, where, and just follow me on this, I don't think there is a team that can beat Florida. I think the only team that can beat Florida is the team that's in the mirror. I think that Florida is the only team that can beat Florida. I think that Auburn, that's a win for Florida, but if you remember that game, Florida – not that they didn't play well. They just, in my opinion, they did not play the way they're playing right now. But to me, Florida at their best, I don't know if there is a team that can beat them. Maybe Michigan. We saw Arizona play them at the beginning of the year. I think this is a completely different team.
And I feel like Todd Golden, it just shows he's such a mastermind in the game of basketball and what he's been able to do with it. Because this team looks a lot different than the team that he had winning the national championship last year. And he was able to find a way. Obviously, started the season, didn't go as expected. He found a way to turn it around. And now they look like a national championship team.
Yeah. In a weird way, and this is just something that just popped in my head, was you were talking about the Auburn game, and we were talking about the Auburn game overall. In a weird way, does this put a little bit more pressure, maybe not this year, but in future years on Stephen Pearl? Because these two are peers. These two worked for Coach Bruce Pearl. I'm not saying Auburn is expecting a championship in year 2, but I just do think that, given Coach Golden's trajectory, I think that people will naturally look to Coach Pearl saying, hey, you guys are peers and expect similar-ish results.
And I think that's just the result of college athletics today. It's just we see these examples of coaches finding a way to win so early on. That's the expectation now. You can't come in and expect to be given 5 years to win a championship anymore.
Yeah, and honestly, good job, Coach Signetti, because you just completely ruined new coaches for literally everyone. But I think it probably does put a little bit of pressure because obviously Florida ended up beating Auburn in the Final Four last year. I was there for that game. Walter Clayton with just an absolutely unreal game, followed up by Will Richard with another unreal game. And then, Auburn got the win against Florida this year, but look at what Florida's done since that win, and look at what Auburn's done. They've gone in two completely different directions. But just going back to the whole 1 seed versus 2 seed point, we've had a few guests on our show throughout the year say there are 4 super elite teams, and they are above and beyond everyone else from the 2 seed down. It is the projected 1 seeds in Florida, Duke. It was UConn, but now it's going to be Arizona and Michigan. I can make a case for Florida beating every single one of them because I think they win a rematch against Arizona. It was the first game of the season all the way back in November. Michigan has been a little bit shaky here this year. I don't know if I can truly trust them down the stretch. And Duke, well, it just came out today. John Shire said that Caleb Foster is going to be out for some time. So that's a major loss. I don't know if you can just solely rely on Cam Boozer. But this brings up my point that I was going to ask you. Who should be that final 1 seed? Is it UConn or is it Florida?
I hate to do the recency bias thing, but I can't unsee the last month of basketball. It's got to be Florida. It's got to be Florida. And maybe UConn's got a better resume because you stack these numbers up, and this is a beautiful job stacking them up. I'm just going, it's not scientific, but by the eye test. And to me, I just cannot unsee what Florida has done over the last month.
And I would agree. It's the time of year that you need to be playing your best basketball, and Florida is absolutely playing their best basketball. And it's not even one of those teams where you look at them and you're like, maybe they're due for a loss. They're looking so good that it's like, who can beat them at this point?
And it's the exact same reason, if we were to flip this on its head, the exact same reason we're talking about maybe Oklahoma has an outside chance of making the NCAA tournament, and maybe Auburn doesn't. The reason why we're making that assessment is because Auburn looks terrible at the end of the year. So to your point, Gabriella, I think the way you're playing at the end of the year sticks in people's minds a lot more. It sticks in my mind a lot more, the way that Acuff played at the end of the season, the way he played towards Bama. If that Bama game happens in early January, I don't think it has the same resonance that he does now, and maybe he doesn't sweep both these awards. A lot of this is about what you do when the calendar flips over to February, and to that point, that's the reason why I think Florida should take that another 1.
There's 2 things, and I'm going to bring this graphic back up here that I want to point out. Number 1, Florida averaged more points per game in a tougher conference. The Big East traditionally has been a pretty good basketball conference, but this year they would be lucky to get 3 bids. And that's kind of shocking, as I'm a former Big East fan back in the when Syracuse was in the conference. But the second thing is I want you to pay attention to the quad 3 area of this graphic. I'm sorry, if I was on the committee and you had a quad 3 loss, there is absolutely no world where I'm considering you for a 1 seed.
Right. And unless
you are not one of the 4 best teams in the country if you've lost to a quad 3 opponent.
A quad 3 team. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And especially if all other things are similar, I think you have to go there. If everything else is similar to what you think these 2 teams are matched up evenly, it now goes to what do you look like at your worst?
Right.
And they look like at their worst is losing to a quad 3 team.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of schedule kind of stacks up. Again, UConn is in a weaker conference this year. The Big East is just so down in years in recent memory. And the SEC, albeit they're projected to get 11 teams in again. We were talking about before the season, they're probably going to be right on that 8 to 10 margin. 11 is kind of on the high side. That's with Auburn getting in, which is just loaded with controversy itself.
Shaky at best, yeah.
And I just, when you compare the 2, it's got to be Florida, in my opinion, and I know this is an SEC show, but that loss on Saturday is kind of surprising for what is supposed to be one of the best 4 teams in the country.
Yeah, no question about it. So we talked about Darius Acuff sweeping those awards. His head coach, John Calipari, talked about not only that, but also picking up career win number 900.
If it meant anything, do you think Darius would have been playing today? I would have played him. That stuff, when you do this a long time, that's the kind of stuff that happens if parents entrust you with their child. And I've been blessed with that. My best players, you ready? All good guys. Never had one of my best players be a jerk. Not once. One, I wouldn't recruit him that way, but they have all been great guys. So I thank them all, wherever I've been, UMass, Memphis, Kentucky, now here. I've been coaching great kids and talented, like a bunch of NBA All-Stars, a couple MVPs in the NBA, defensive players of the year, rookies of the year. Well, then you're going to win a whole lot of games. So I've been blessed. And I've had great staffs, by the way. Chin did a great job defensively today because they're hard to guard and they play different and they post up and they do some stuff. And he did a great job, including in-game stuff. I told him, I don't know if I want to play him anymore this year. We were pretty good without him.